Baseball.
I know, it's
Did it get curlier? It's a few strands that are
We're gonna
left.
get it signed, sealed, signed. That's the control, that's the control.
I remember it had to do with the T signs. I don't remember what else.
Thank you, Mr. Busey. All right. Move along. Mr. Guariello, good evening.
Good evening,
You're
Mayor.
up.
I'll be brief. No report.
At the last meeting, we discussed, and then you did send it to me, a letter
Yes.
with regard to South Africa, curbing of South Africa. Now, they already did part of that, not the curbing, but what are we talking about now, from Center Street down toward Westfield?
I think that's the section that's done already. From center going east is the section that haven't done, if I remember correctly. And there is a lot of curb in there that's deteriorated, particularly along the north side by all of the commercial development.
I mean, I'll put it on letter.
That's what I thought.
Sign it and get it out tomorrow, yeah, it's fine, thank you. And, for those of you who are, don't recall, it's a letter that Mr. Oriello wrote exactly with regard to the curbing that needs to be replaced. Okay? You got anything else for us?
I got, one thing, Mayor. I received a complaint from a constituent in front of 501 Third Avenue and 502. The curb is all broken up. And basically what I told them, and tell me if I'm wrong here, I thought that we did not repair curbs until we redo the street. I told them generally that's what we
Yeah,
did.
generally we repair, if a tree comes down, for example, and lifts the curb up, creates a dangerous condition, we replace it under those conditions. But generally, we don't replace curb.
Yeah, this one is definitely in
That 502 block, that's what, west of, toward,
going to the west.
the last one, dead end block.
Yeah, I'll put the point.
Okay.
Mayor, I
Because
have,
we are, I'm sorry, the next section, I think, we're doing work this year in the 400 block third, but it doesn't affect 500 block.
I have a couple items. John, speaking of the 400 block of Third, I noticed a rather large pothole right in the middle of the street, middle of the block, on where the school is, down a little bit. I know that's on our agenda, but I don't know if that's something that maybe you want to contact the DPW about, if it's needed, or if we should just wait on that. I just wanted to let you know about that. And also, as far as the curbing on Hickory, that would be the 300 block, I believe. That's yours, right, Bill?
Mine.
Okay. The side toward the dead end to the park on Center Street, over there, the curbing is really crumbling. Is that something that's on our horizon?
Hickory is
or no?
on the horizon.
But is the curbing,
Well, when we do the street, we'll have to
We
curb
will do
it
that?
down with it, yes.
Okay.
That curb- There's a section, particularly on the opposite side of the building, those curbs are perfect.
oh, sure.
On the opposite side, in fact, we mainly visit, on the other side of the street, the curb is, it's either, I guess the pavement's really settled, because it's about 8 or 9 inch exposed curb, so. But yeah, we'll take care of all that.
Okay.
When we do
Okay.
it in the next couple of years.
Right,
But it's in the works, I believe.
hope so.
It might be that we just received.
Yeah, it is in there. I'm not sure if it's that block.
With that money we just received in the paper
Yeah,
now?
yeah. Now, that may only be drainage, I'd have to go back and look and see whether that just includes drainage in that block at this time. If we do drainage one year, the road the next year.
But I think we're waiting
We will be
for
working on
somebody
that.
And it did seem like we made out pretty well in receiving that grant money, especially compared to some of the other towns, so that's a good thing. Let's just, hopefully that keeps going.
Don, I was just gonna ask you about that grant money. It was $225,000?
Yes.
So is that money applied to the projects that we,
May I interrupt?
Yes.
There's a big memo in your packet for Friday explain all that that money's for, what you need to do, what roads it includes, what grant it's for, how much the grant is for, and how much you need to bond. It's in your packet right now, but you can get it.
Have it, we can receive.
That we have
Yes,
not
that
yet.
you're gonna
Okay,
get on
good.
Friday.
I thought
And then
it
next
was
council,
something.
this isn't an amendment, next council meeting, be prepared to talk about the roads and what you wanna do.
Okay.
So you'll know what you're talking about once you see the memo.
All right, very good, thank you. I'll wait for the package.
Anybody have anything else?
Don, has everything been repaired since New Jersey merged and water ripped up everything? Have they repaired everything?
No. I don't.
What's the status? What's happening?
Well, I mean, in the winter months, I'm sure they didn't do much of the pavement work or the restoration. They should really be starting the restoration work now and getting it completed on last year's work.
Are we after them at all?
Pardon?
Are we after them, or do we need to get after them?
Well, we haven't been after them, you know, but we can get after them. We did meet with them a couple of weeks ago about what they proposed to do this year, and we talked about it, but it was still not the time to sweat the work. But I could give them a call and see what's.
That'd be appreciated, because I asked facetiously if it was all done, because, you know, there's a lot out there that isn't done, so glad to hear they're.
Well, I think they've worked themselves into a real dilemma, because I mean, no matter what town you go in, that they're working with, they have a problem. So apparently their restoration work is not keeping up with their construction work.
And I've asked this before, we don't require any infrared repairs, do we?
We don't require what?
Infrared repairs?
No.
Should we? Does it
Well,
make that much of a difference?
They're not doing it on the streets that we've already paved, so I don't think it's that much of a difference.
It's just Don can explain it better than I, but it's a better product, it's a better seal, it's a better finish. But Don is right, it's only done on.
Yeah, they haven't done any work on the roads we've worked on.
To follow up, not directly for Don, but Tina, did we put up that schedule on the website? I know we talked about putting that up, the work by American Water, so people could possibly see when the streets
No,
were coming
I
out?
definitely did not put that on the website.
Okay. Do we plan on it?
Do we have a schedule from American
Well,
Water?
yeah, I don't know, I mean, it's just a list of streets, but I don't necessarily know if that's,
Yeah, that's not a schedule.
We don't
I mean, it's not
schedule.
just-
it just says what they
We
do,
just-
doesn't say when. I
We know
don't
what they're
have-
doing, we don't know when.
So we don't have a true schedule. Will they ever give us one? Can we ask for one?
Well, when we met, we talked about that, we said that,
We're gonna notify
we wanted them to notify the residents,
Correct.
more than us, and, he said that that's, what'd he say?
Did you say you were gonna notify them?
He said it's really hard to do,
To notify them or notify us?
I think both.
Well, he's gotta do one or the other.
Notify the residents. I think.
Yeah, at
They
least
said they
notify them.
they said they would notify the residents, but they couldn't give
A
us a
specific date.
schedule.
Yeah, they usually get within a week or two.
Right.
I really don't think you can expect much more than that with weather and everything else.
Right.
Because their schedule would change, so when they would be on that street, they would notify the residents.
Would it be worth putting something up there just suggesting to residents, keep a lookout if you receive this in the mail, that this could be your schedule for your property? I mean, it sounded like it was covering a lot of homes, and I know when we talked about this a few months ago, it was very aggravating to the residents that it affected, so.
My wife got notified as they were shutting the water off. So, I mean, that's tough, you got a baby and, you know.
What I could do is put up that notice again, and I created one.
Essentially, we have one up there, it came down.
Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah,
say-
put it back.
It had, what streets, didn't say every address, just like what blocks were on. That was the other work, though, I could update it, for these streets, because it's a lot of houses, but not a lot of streets.
Right,
And,
but dealing with the meters, right,
It's meters and I think fire hydrants too.
and fire hydrants, okay, maybe you.
So I could just update that notice for the current streets, and then it just kind of general, it just says what to do, what to expect,
Right,
what happens to your water,
right,
and how to, who to contact the water company for.
well, I think that's a good idea.
Sure. Just a
Thanks,
a
Tina.
practical question, Don, when we say we, I guess that's you following up with that. Would we, as in the members of the governing body or the mayor, help you or hamper you if we started to contact them? Do you think that they would respond better to us? Would that escalate it, in your opinion? I just want to get your idea.
Well, usually I don't recommend individual council people, usually if you need a push, you let the mayor push.
Okay, yeah,
I really, sincerely, I think people tend to listen to the mayor, generally, whether they do it individual council people. But But, we'll give them, I'll give them a call and we'll see if we get them going, and I'll give you a report next month. And if
You
it's not
recently had a
adequate-
meeting, as I'm understanding this, you recently had a meeting with them.
Yeah, if that isn't adequate, then we can do something else.
And I know that when we met with them, and the reason they don't have a schedule is because they try to schedule it, but they have more emergencies than they have time to do regular schedules, so that's why they can't stick to a regular schedule, because they're always changing it, working on emergencies.
Well, that might be something to add to the website too, just to let residents know that here's, you may receive something, it may be a bit imperfect because they do deal with emergencies as
Well, I
well.
think that's why the day that they're coming on your street is when they
That's the
notify the
final.
day before for that day. Okay.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? Thank you, Mr. Quagliariello. Mr. Ronaldo?
I don't really have anything new, Mayor. The only thing I would mention is, I did, as you know, prepare the ordinance relating to permitting sandwich board signs. The planning board reviewed it and asked for some changes, but I'm not, I guess I don't have the technical proficiency to make some of the changes that they want. I'm a lawyer, not an urban planner, so in terms of what exactly the definitions of the signs that the board wants, somebody else is going to have to give me that information for me to put it in the file. They raised some other types of signs which would be permitted, which is fine, but I'm not, that's not within my field of expertise to define them, so somebody is going to have to do that. Or alternatively, we could adopt the ordinance the way that it was proposed and then add in other signs later on, although that wasn't what the planning board recommended, so that's where that lays at this point.
Bring that back.
Sure. Bob, I did receive the draft resolution or draft letter from the board secretary. We read that, give you a call. I think you're talking about the T type of signs that the board discussed?
Right.
All right.
They wanted a definition of
Right.
a sandwich board sign, which is one of those things that I can tell you what it is, but I don't know if
Right.
I can come up with a technical definition for it.
All right, I will take a look at
One of
that
the things
memo.
that looks like this, but
Right.
I can't put that in the ordinance.
It's tough to.
Thank you, Bill.
And I'll give you a call and we'll work that out.
Okay, and, I did prepare an ordinance, relating to, regulations of dumpsters also, and I'm not, that's in the committee.
It's back in committee, and I had forwarded it to Captain Stouffer for approval, see if he liked the exact wording, or if there was any recommendations that he had to make on it. And I think I'm still waiting for an email back from Captain Stouffer on that.
Okay. All right, I just thought I'd mention that, because those are
Okay.
two things that are pending. I will have, in reviewing the ordinances, the administrator realized that we still have provisions for both the borough attorney and the municipal prosecutor that talk in terms of salary, neither of which is still applicable. So I prepared a couple of resolutions that I'm going to send her this week that you could take a look at next time that just indicate that it's a contract, not a salary. Because the ordinances should be correct. So, I think that's it.
Thank you. Anybody have anything else for Mr. Arnott? Okay, then apparently we no other questions. We'll move on. Do we have any other unfinished business hanging around? No? Any new business? Okay, any new business, I imagine we come up with regard to discussion. Council President Palmer, anything you'd like discussed more?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd actually like to continue the discussion that I started last week on parking. If you remember, I brought up a few issues. You know, the residents have brought up in the past complaining about parking and how we have come to this problem. commuter parking caused by the train and the bus on the north side and the south side. Also, it's caused by retail parking and some apartments with not enough parking of their own. And also, I think that the school has caused some of the parking issue on the north side. They have a parking lot that they have years ago purchased from the first aid squad, but it's not big enough for all the teachers to park, so they also park on the streets. And I think in the future, the property over on St. Anne, that is the villagers of the, I think they call it what, villages at Garwood, that's gonna cause a potential parking problem, because they don't have enough parking the way I see it. I'm not sure how many spots they have, but I think it's gonna have more apartments than parking. And also, in the winter, with the snow, we've heard residents complain about parking, although this year I believe we handled it pretty well, where you acquired a lot, and we took care of that problem for our residents, but it's also a parking problem in the winter. So, although most of these problems are good problems that we have, retail and development, and it is all good problems for Garwood, but it has caused a parking problem. So, I mean, what does it mean? It means that people are enjoying our town, and they live here, and they work here, and they play here. But we've caused a problem, and even though it's a good problem for us, we've caused it, and we need to solve our problem. So, in the future, and we do want more commuters, and we want more development, and when One Seat Ride actually comes into phase 4, and as I mentioned last month when I talked about this, what happened in Summit, our property values are gonna increase. So this is all stuff that we want. It's all positive stuff, even though it's a problem right now. So we have to solve this problem. And what happened too is, the planning board just recently, within the last couple of meetings, last 2 months, they approved 2 projects, one on Center Street and one on South Avenue. And what did they do with these projects? They approved them with parking relief variances, or whatever the technical term is. And they're good projects, and I support them. I think they're good. It's good redevelopment in town, but again, it's not enough parking for these projects. So this is good stuff again, redevelopment, commuters, all good things for Garwood. But when all this construction is completed, however long it's gonna take, it's gonna, cause more parking issues. So I think this conversation about parking in Garwood, we need to continue to have it. We can't forget about it. We need to solve the problem. We created it, and by we, I mean planning board, the borough, and we can't go backwards now. We can't undo variances that were already given. We can't take away anything. We can't, knock down buildings that were built. It's not something that we want to do, but we need to fix this problem. So I think, this council is the only one that can fix it. So we need to keep this conversation moving forward. And whatever it may be, however we solve it, I think that we need to either maybe look at the master plan again. It's a couple years old, it's 5 years old. I don't know how often we do the master plan, really, every 10 years? Okay, so maybe it's not time to look at the master plan, but maybe we need to look at the possibility of what the cost is to hire a planner, an engineer that can look at the town, our whole town, and find us pockets, maybe one big area that, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a planner, I don't look at the town the same way. But maybe someone can find us a location that we haven't looked at properly, that can find us a parking lot, or maybe 2 smaller areas that we can put a parking lot in this town. But somebody can look at all of our properties, maybe properties that we own, that we can do something with and be creative, or properties that we don't own that we can purchase. We have to keep looking. And maybe we can't do it, but we can hire, I don't know what it costs to hire someone, we can have that conversation. You're looking at me.
I'm listening to every word you
Okay.
say. Mayor, a comment. I agree with everything you said. Suggestion, and since the chairman of the planning board happens to be here tonight, and if this is, committeed out, we can just say so, but what do you think about before we actually go out to hire somebody? Which is a good idea, because they can look at the bigger picture. What do you think if we were to actually create a small committee of a couple planning board members, maybe a couple council members, and maybe Don, or I'm not sure who else, but there are some people in town, some residents, who know firsthand some issues, and there are actually there's some engineers here in town, I think, that might have some answers. Maybe we can advertise, actually create a group have some input firsthand from residents and see if we can move something forward. Because everything you said is correct. We have the issue, it's a good issue, but we do need to figure something out. And, I mean, I think we can do it, get Victor's input, and others. I'm game for that if you want to. Have the police been able to get back over to Second and do anything directly in response to these residents who were here 2 meetings back?
The police?
Yeah, remember they were gonna go back out because the police had gone out and they checked license plates and everything. And then we had 2 residents who came in and said, hey, that wasn't enough, we need to do more. Have we been able to go back and do anything yet?
No, not with the police, we cannot,
But that was doing that the first time, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about, Chief?
Which area? Are you talking
East
here,
Second.
Oak, or are you talking on Second
Between-
or by St. Anne's?
On Second over by St. Anne's, from Walnut down to Oak, basically.
Walnut down to Oak.
Basically, and it might go over to Maple also, but the usual standard area where people are park their cars when they're commuting.
Right. We did a preliminary,
Right.
right, and ran some plates, but there was nothing consistent.
All right, well, if you remember, I mean, I think it was 2 meetings ago, we had 2 residents come in. And Al Ginga and the guy who goes across the street, former fireman.
Yes,
You're right.
since that meeting, I don't think we had asked the chief to,
All right, we didn't instruct them.
no.
Do we need to see if we get something going on that while we're setting up the other group? Just a question, and if we don't, we don't.
Well, I'm not
We do.
sure what we're asking them to do, because I know that, I
Well,
think,
to put it in plain language, okay? The residents didn't think much of the study that was done. And they really felt that if you were to go back out at specific times, and he told us those specific times, that you could see they were commuters. They weren't Garwood people, they weren't, residents of the community. They really objected and found great fault with the time periods in which the police division did their license checks.
right, so.
Now, I'm not saying right or wrong, but
Well,
that's
let
what
me
they
ask you a
said.
question,
Yeah.
if the police come back and tell us that, yes, they are commuters, they can't ticket them.
Well, I understand that, I mean, believe me, I live across the street from the park, I'm well aware of people, can't ticket people. But it would give, in order to make change, you need some evidence, and it would just be more evidence. If you don't think it's needed, that's fine. If you wanna set up a group to study it, that's fine. I'm agreeing with
Okay.
everything you're saying, I'm
Okay.
getting
I
back.
wasn't, all right, I wasn't sure what it was that you were getting at, okay. All right,
Do you wanna set up a committee? Does the mayor wanna set up a committee? How do you wanna do this?
well, we can have a discussion about that, whether we want to set up a committee or just planner, I'm not sure, we can discuss that.
Let's speak with, what I'd like to do is speak with Victor,
Okay.
and, I'll take it from there and see what's on our plate as far as other major inquiries
And maybe that
that
would
may
go over.
provide, some sort of solution in the future. And what can we do now?
And maybe we can also put it on the planning board agenda
Yeah.
for discussion there. Okay. All right.
You can bring that back.
I'll bring that back.
Thank you.
And even, you may involve, this is why I feel.
Okay.
Has to be possible for, development.
Well, we have a chief here, can you get some input, maybe, does he think there's a chief? Do you have input on the parking issue, and do you see a need for parking relief?
And specifically Second Avenue, what the current
Parking
situation
is
is.
a premium within the borough, from the renters, from the homeowners, from kids who are growing up and have cars. There's definite need. Where you find the property to do something is another story.
Okay, so, let's say if we had unlimited property, how many spots would you say we would need?
In what area? I mean, you could put a parking lot anywhere, but they have to get to where they wanna go. They wanna get on a bus at north and center, then a parking lot down on the Cranford border is nothing. So,
Okay,
On the Second Avenue, that 300 block, are those the same, I know on the 400 block, because I can see the same cars for a couple of years now, parked all day, I mean, they're there at 7 o'clock in the morning. When your guys went out and did a survey, were those the same vehicles parked there on the 300 block in the area of this? You know, is it continually the same people, or
Well,
you
you
know,
have-
we're
I have to-
assuming it would
the
be,
last-
but who knows?
The last survey we conducted in that area was when Keith Sluka was on the board, council. And you had a bunch of commuters parking in the area and walking over to the bus stop. Whether they're the same cars, you also had, teachers parking down the block from the school as well.
Yeah.
You had to walk over. Whether they're the same cars now,
No, what I'm saying is, like right now, is it on Monday when you go out there, it's, a black Hyundai. Tuesday you go out there, it's all day long black Hyundai. Wednesday you go out there, all day long, it's the same black Hyundai. You follow what I'm getting at? Is it the same? Is this a continuous, or are these, is the cast of players constantly changing?
I think, other than the teachers in the area over there, I think some of the players change.
Okay.
But if you would like, I will, if you would like me to, I will conduct a survey over there and we'll get some fresh data.
Well, then I would like to see, but, and I know we have construction workers over there as well right now, because it's the St. Anne's, building that's going on, but it would be good to have a little bit better idea of who's parking. I mean, is it residents who are parking down the street, or?
Chief, you did do a survey more recently than Keith Sluka, you did one for me,
In that area,
on,
we were down by Oak.
on Second and Oak, and maybe Cedar.
When was that fall?
I'd have to look, I have it at home, you did it for me.
Oak,
I remember too.
Oak was a while back.
Perhaps we can look at that and then come back to the next council
Yeah.
meeting and
I'll look for it.
decide if we
Nevertheless,
want
I
them to
can
proceed or not.
certainly do another survey and get fresh data.
Okay,
That'd be
very
appreciated,
good,
that would be
For this-
appreciated, Mayor.
for this year.
very
Have
good.
to do that. That
Get a
would be
real
appreciated.
handle on who's parking.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Councilman Martin? Councilman Massey, do you have anything to say?
I'm okay, Mayor, thank you.
Okay, nothing for workshop? Councilman Anderson?
Yeah, some of the items have been taken already, Mayor, but I do have 5 original items here. First off, we would like to have another discussion, just as Ann mentioned, about redevelopment. I submit that as time for the council to put forth a resolution asking the planning board to look at the Sal property, the Petro property, and the properties from the firehouse down to west to see if they can be declared, they meet the criteria to be declared in need of redevelopment, so we can move forward with a redevelopment plan for those properties. We talked about it before. I've discussed it briefly with Mr. Nolan. I know I need to get into the exact block and lots, but I would like direction from the council tonight to direct Bob to prepare that resolution to advance that study.
I'm confused. Wasn't there a project already proposed? Wasn't there some, did we talk about this? That these properties are being purchased?
Well, the property is exchanging hands, whether there's a project proposed or not yet, But I still think we need to advance the need of redevelopment study.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this runs completely opposite to the decision that we had already made. That I'm not making.
Why so?
No, I just thought that we weren't looking at that anymore because it was being taken by another private entity.
Even if it's taken by another private entity, you still need to advance the need of redevelopment study.
Councilman Mearson, maybe it would help if you explain how, even if there is a change of hands, how that study would help, because it's my understanding, as per the request by the planning board budget-wise, we did put money in for plans and studies of the area that you're discussing, specifically Casal and Petro, and then
Right.
also the Millen properties on the North Avenue corridor, so.
You are correct. Well, right now they're zoned industrial, and I don't think that's what we anticipate. So we need to, the master plan recommends that the area be reviewed, and it's time that we direct the planning board to do so. I really thought that we'd all kind of were on board with this, that it needs to be done. So I'm kind of confused a little bit because I thought we recognized that
And we put the money in the budget for this already.
we put the money in the budget, so I'm kind of surprised.
Exactly.
I mean, are there still issues regarding this?
I didn't think so.
I think it's also, if I'm, Councilor Lalage, it was one of those things that's a requirement with regard to, if at some point, pursuing the transit village.
Transit village and other
Yeah.
items, you know, down the road, depending on what they wanna put there. Have an area of redevelopment, it'll give you the ability to look at the development itself and the ability to ask for certain aesthetic things.
Right, it actually gives the council tremendous more ability to actually develop standards and develop plans that would really advance exactly what we want. One of the key issues that we have to discuss beforehand is the old issue regarding whether we want to advance through one of the, which of the three methods through which you can do the need of redevelopment or need of rehabilitation study you wish to pursue. I'd like to advance at this point, and I know it's going to be sensitive, but I'd like to advance at this point the potential that we do advance along the lines of retaining the eminent domain control, and it's solely, and I know Councilman Matthews' concerned, it's solely because of the parking. We may indeed have to purchase something. May, I don't know if we will or if we will not, but to provide for parking, and that would be a public purpose. It would be consistent with the court cases and what have you regarding that need for advancement of redevelopment plan or advancement of eminent domain for a public purpose and not just a hidden private one. And so I would like us to advance a resolution containing the eminent domain powers.
Mr. Renard, didn't we talk about this, about this matter being in bankruptcy in particular, and that we could not go traipsing into, I'm talking about the Petro and Casal properties, and we could not go ahead and entertain eminent domain because of the bankruptcy situation?
Well, yeah, I think eminent domain may be a problem in the bankruptcy situation.
Right, I'm not crazy?
It's gonna be a lot,
For that part,
that's, that part of it, I think I think we did discuss that. The other part of it about not doing the redevelopment area, I don't think we ever discussed that. It was recommended in the master plan, and if there is gonna be a redevelopment, you have to actually, you're gonna have to do one of three things. One of them is rezone the area, unless, because it's never going to be developed as an industrial property, so that's out. So you'd have to rezone the area. Or you could do a redevelopment area, which is essentially overlay zoning, putting aside the eminent domain or no eminent domain issue. And Bill is correct that an area in need of redevelopment designation gives you a little bit, actually a lot more control over things like design features, which you can't put in a zoning ordinance. The third thing is you could do nothing, in which case the developer assuming there's a developer, is gonna go to the planning board, and ask for variances, which I think that as the governing body, you really should sort of take the bull by the horns and do something in terms of zoning, whether, an area in need of redevelopment or a rezoning or something. I think the area in need of redevelopment probably is the better alternative, because you can do it sort of as an overlay, so you don't have to change the zoning as it is. You can permit the properties to be used as they're used, but have an overlay on new zoning basically on top of old zoning. So probably, I guess my opinion would be in terms of what ought to be done. It would be an area in need of redevelopment. I don't know that I would recommend putting the eminent domain in for two reasons. One, it makes the process much more cumbersome under the new law that's been adopted. Three. Two, you're going to get a number of people upset. And three, I just don't think it's necessary at this point. If you decide at some point that you have to use eminent domain for a specific purpose in that area, then you'd have to redo the process. But it would probably be something that would involve, smooth the process if you left out the eminent domain aspect of it.
And I don't disagree with what you're saying, Bob. I think we could go either way. I put forth the eminent domain thought and request for retention because I think the bankruptcy is going to be resolved and the sale is going to be resolved before we go through the study and the plan. And I'd kind of like to have both adopted, so to speak, or both in place at the same time.
Well, I'm not going to debate.
No, I'm requesting your legal thought. I'm open either way. Do you really think that, at this point in time, the properties are for sale. The properties are potentially being purchased. Do you really think that indicating that the borough might retain its eminent domain powers would really upset the apple cart?
Well, it may, and the other aspect of it is if you work with the developer and you acquire the property or a part of the property, you don't need eminent domain. It just seems to me that it's unlikely that if you've got a developer who's going to redevelop the property, that you're going to be so antagonistic in terms of taking property that you would have to do that. I don't see any need to do it when you have a developer on the property.
The only reason I'm doing it, okay, is because of the potential for two properties. Okay, and if and when a developer comes along, obviously the vast majority of those properties are going to be controlled through one purchase and controlled through one redeveloper. There really are only two properties in that tract that I mentioned that are not controlled by the present either Petro or Casal. And I don't even know if they satisfy the need of redevelopment criteria. But I would like to include the house on South, which simply doesn't belong there. And I'd like to include the bank property, just to take a look and to see if that furthers the plan that gets proposed by a developer. It might be something we want to do.
Well, you could sell that to three other people on the council.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna put that out there, okay? I'd like to try to sell it to three other people, my fellow councilmen. It really comes down to those two properties. The rest of it is controlled by Petro, is controlled by Casal. And if and when a redeveloper comes along and purchases them, that redeveloper is going to control. And I don't believe, I'm talking about working anti the redeveloper in terms of advancing a redevelopment out there. But if the planning board determines that the entire tract meets the criteria, and the person who owns the house and the person who owns the bank don't want to sell, well, then we're back to square one, having to go through the process again to get those eminent domain powers back.
And what is that process again?
just go back to the study and the planning act.
Public hearings.
Public hearings, time.
Would this make it also,
If you do, a second ordinance,
Well, we could.
but I'm just, sorry.
No, no.
no, that's fine.
Yeah, no, no.
Let me ask you one other question, Mr. Longino. Would the study, make it easier, or is it required for any kind of, environmental
You would,
monies that somebody would be looking to obtain?
that is, yes, that is one of the areas.
That's one of the
Also,
pieces
you know,
that's
redevelopment.
involved. And we know that there's environmental concerns, especially on both properties, actually.
And to further add to that, many, I'm not gonna say all, but many times, many more loans are available in areas that have been declared in need of redevelopment than areas that have not been. Not always, I don't want to imply that, but many times.
Well, I don't think the question is, do we not want to do the whole redevelopment thing here? It's about the eminent domain piece. of it.
Right, because we just, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, now the way that law reads, we have to indicate at the opening stages of the study, or?
No, we have the resolution authorizing the
Right.
planning board to undertake the study has to indicate whether it's
That's what I'm asking.
with or without eminent domain, yes.
Right,
So
yes,
that's-
the answer is yes, so that's what we need to know.
discussion.
Right. We all understand that we want the study, there's money for the study.
I think we're
It's just
agreeing
the
on that
issue
part.
of the eminent domain, but
Right.
quite honestly, I felt we were going in one direction, and now tonight, having this on the table, I'm not quite sure. I mean, I'm hearing what you have to say, I hear what our attorney has to say. I don't see how, I mean, it just doesn't seem like we need it, quite honestly, but I'm also saying as well, this is really the first time we're having that type of discussion. I don't feel I can make a decision right here, right now regarding that.
And I understand what you're saying, the only thing I'm adding to that is, I think we need to move, and just because we have it, doesn't mean you're gonna use it. All the redevelopment studies I prepared, all the redevelopment plans I prepared, municipalities which I've worked, commissions in which I've worked, we've never used it.
Right, I hear that, but I also heard Bob say it could hurt us if we did it.
And what I'm saying is, since the sales are going through, the bankruptcy's already been prepared, I really, I'm not in the process, I'm not working with the property owners, I'm not working with the purchasers, I have no idea what stage they're at. What is the opposition to at least retaining the ability to do so?
I can state, and again, I'm getting a little uncomfortable with them, I don't want to disclose anything that I'm not supposed to, but my recollection was that we could possibly invite litigation by entertaining eminent domain. I also remember being given the advice that unless we were going to go ahead and use it, that there was absolutely no merit whatsoever in retaining it, okay? And also the fact that it's gonna significantly up the cost of whatever plan happens. Those are my recollection, and I also remember those being the advice of a professional. So that's the thing that I'm very concerned about. Eminent domain for a public purpose, that's not a problem. It's eminent domain in a bankruptcy situation, where, again, I also recall being told that we would have to retain bankruptcy counsel. I add that all together, talking about significant costs, talking about causing significant problems, and potentially ditching the very valuable development to our community. I don't see the reason for it, not when it comes to Petro and Passat.
All right, I think you're talking apples and oranges, Jim, okay? First off, in terms of no, because Bob didn't say it either. In terms of additional cost, it does not cost any more to do a need of redevelopment study if you're going to have eminent domain or not. It's literally one paragraph in the study, and it's literally one paragraph in the plan. If you were in the plan to identify that you wanted to move ahead with eminent domain, you'd have to indicate which properties. So there is no additional cost. In terms of a bankruptcy attorney, again, and I understand what you're saying about being careful what we say, the intent of the eminent domain at that time was different than the intent at this time. And I think it is apples and oranges. And I don't believe the recommendation was not to move ahead without the eminent domain, because we're not talking about the properties that I'm talking about tonight.
Is there someplace we could move this, Mayor, to get it out of, we can sit here all night and talk about this?
I think if we have 4 votes, we can just get it off the table and put it on for the next agenda. So what if I ask this, Mayor, do we have 4 votes moving ahead with eminent domain?
Not tonight.
Do we have 4 votes moving without it?
No.
Without it?
Moving without it.
Without it.
Without it, yeah, right.
I think, I'd just like to make a suggestion, you could direct the attorney to prepare it both ways and then have it in front of you for vote next time.
Well, I think we just figured it out.
That's fine. That's fine?
We'll do it that way?
Or, here's the thing, these issues didn't occur, come up out of nowhere in one night. They don't get fixed all in one night. A couple of positions have been laid out tonight for us. Should we just take another meeting? Come back to the next meeting prepared with our opinion on it. I don't,
What if we direct the attorney to prepare the resolutions, and if we decide next meeting we want to advance, then we do, if we don't, we don't.
If-
Eventually, he's gonna have to
okay.
prepare
You
them.
have a
but if
couple
he
weeks.
prepares both, is that more cost to us as opposed to doing one?
It's the same resolution. It truly is. It's a
Okay.
paragraph, 2 sentences.
If it is, then that's a different
That's all it
story.
is. It's not a big deal. I mean, I don't want to say it's not.
I mean, I don't wanna
Bob-
spend double the cost.
Bob and I both have it in our
It's
computers.
just another way.
It's not difficult to do it both ways if that's the way you want to do
All right,
it.
then that gives you, till the next, we'll do to the next meeting to decide which way.
I think that's better.
Again, I remind everybody that you have to give me the lots and blocks.
Right, I will get that. I owe you that, Bob. I will get that to you.
Okay.
All right,
Good.
thank you.
Okay, unfortunately, that was number 1. But I took the hardest one first.
Anything else, has anything else come from the planning board that you wish to share with everybody else?
Well, that was something I had on here, but council president already brought that up. As most people know, the planning board did approve the mixed-use project in South Avenue, and I look forward to moving that forward. If you don't know, New Jersey Transit has agreed to expand the one-seat ride in the evenings coming October. So for those who don't know, in October, that one-seat ride will be here. We already discussed the sign ordinance, so I can get information on that. Mayor, last but not least, anything new with emergency management? I haven't bothered anybody on it of late, but I still don't have an adopted plan.
Where'd the chief go?
It's been I know the chief did his job, but I know it's
No, I know,
like
but
2
we
years
got
since
down
Sandy.
to,
Where are we?
we got down to, a review.
We are with emergency management. We still don't have an adopted plan.
Has it gone, it's gone before it was supposed to go to the county, as far as I know. I know you had your meeting with Mr.
Right, with that, I met with Emmett,
Yeah,
he's got all the annexes,
everything, all of them?
I believe he has all of
Okay.
them. And, he is preparing them for submission if he hasn't already submitted them to the county. So,
That's where we are.
they'll go to the county, they'll get looked at, approved, come back, I guess,
I thought they did, but I thought they had submitted some.
All right, so nothing's been submitted yet, but we anticipate, this is May 13th, like beginning of June, maybe we'll be submitting something to the county? I know it's not in your hands.
I don't know, because
Maybe
right now it's out of my hands.
Right.
Well, that was forward to
Same
the.
thing that said, it's not in your hands.
I want to double check with, I will double check with Mr. Varner, because
Okay.
it's my understanding that, right after the meeting, it was supposed to be submitted, and I don't want to say it's definitely sitting there, and what's
Okay.
going on with that, okay? Or how long they take to do
I
it.
believe everything's prepared and ready to go if it has not already gone.
Yeah, it could,
All right, we can just know for the next meeting, that'd be appreciated.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's it, man.
all right. Councilman Pemberton?
Yeah, Mayor, just a couple of things. I just want everybody to know that for recreation, we do have an advertised position for the summer rec director. The person who normally does it she's not able to do it this year, so we do have it advertised on the website, and it is advertised at the school as well. Also, Buildings and Grounds finally met. We did discuss spraying the brook. However, currently I am gathering a bunch more information from the health department to go over some things that were brought up in the meeting. So, and at the next meeting, I will have a complete report on all of the generators that are in town. Things, not all of them are done, and there's certain things that, that we are waiting for, so I'll have a much better report at the next meeting.
It's one of those rare nights, I have nothing there.
Wait till
They might be relieved.
Okay, how about, public comment? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address mayor and council? Please step to the microphone, state your full name and address, and please limit your comments to approximately 3 minutes. It would be greatly appreciated.
Ann Leonard, 536 Myrtle Avenue, Bowen. I want to address, Mr. Deere said sign ordinance. They're putting out signs now when the landscapers are done, put them on your front lawn. There's no time limit telling them when to leave them there or when to take them off or not. And I'm so tired of seeing digging roof. They put all these things on the front of your lawn, and the homeowners should be told to take them off, or the contractors should be told to take them off. That's
Okay.
number one.
All right.
Number two, I'll address the parking. In the back of Hess Station, the town has a couple of spots there. I'm sure there's a couple of spots there that you can park cars, and the rest of the property in back of that is owned by Piscatelli. And I'm sure you could make a deal with Piscatelli in back of Hess to take over that property for parking.
Thank you.
We'll look into that.
Thank you, Mr. Warner. Any other residents wish to make a comment or address the council?
I don't have a comment, but Tina missed her report.
Oh, that's right.
No report.
Needs to go.
Oh, really? Thank you.
Sorry.
It says me right here.
I'm sorry.
Wait, we're standing up with the mic for this?
Okay, go ahead.
So,
We'll come back to that, all right? All right, let's finish up here.
Tom Pettis, 101 Chestnut. As I'm sure all of you are aware, my complaint since I moved to Dogwood 7 years ago was the high taxes that the residents of the point have been paying. I want to compliment the Finance Committee for doing a very good job this past year in keeping the taxes down. But I also want to remind you, as was stated at the last meeting, that the previous 2 years of the 21 municipalities in Union County, we had one of the 3 highest tax increases. And you went ahead with the athletic field project. At the last meeting, you voted on another $91,000 of expenses for the athletic field complex. And $46,000 of that was for security system. And 3 council members up there said that this was an unexpected and needed expense. Those remarks bothered me because it was almost 2 years ago that I stood before this council on numerous occasions and gave many reasons why I felt the athletic field complex should not be voted on. And some of the reasons I gave was vandalism and the increased cost of security for that property with out-of-towners coming in and so on. I stood here and I had shown you articles from the newspaper about Hillside and how they were closing complexes that they spent a lot of money on building, and about Broadway, who had a similar problem. And for you to say that this was unexpected either tells me that you weren't listening to the taxpayers, or that whole athletic field complex was not very well thought out.
Any other comments from residents?
Yeah, look, I'm glad Tom's information changed. Bruce Patterson, 325 Will Avenue. It was change order number 1 on the last meeting was for $42,000, something like that. And that was for that closed circuit TV. what that was, and then you split the cost out, some of it was in the contingency, I say like, it was 42,000, so I guess 22,000 was from the contingency of the rec committee, and actually $20,000 came out of the operating budget. And I meant to ask, why was that? Why didn't we take it all out of the contingency?
The one with the camera,
Yes, change order number
the
one.
one with the camera, I applied for a grant, an open space grant for that camera, so it has to be used for that camera. So, and that money wasn't included in the bond for the project, because it came after.
So you're saying that $20,000 grant is coming in and it's just passing through the budget?
We got a $25,000 open space grant, that's a 50/50 matching grant, you have to spend $25,000 too, to use that grant.
Yeah, but all your grants really are rolled into the cost of the
Not
grant.
this one,
This
because
is
this
a
one
new one.
came after. This was new after we already did the ordinance and stuff.
All right, well, I guess we're going back, the $20,000 that was coming out of the operating budget, which was approved last time, that's actually covered by a grant that's coming into the, no.
It's a matching grant.
That's,
So the grant was 25, we put 20 in the operating budget, and the other 5 was,
included under recreation without an increase.
No.
It was in there.
The balance is coming out of the ordinance. 20, it has to be a matching grant, so right now we're only spending $45,675.30. It doesn't mean we can't spend the remaining balance because the grant application was for more than just the camera. But for now, you're only buying the camera. So you have to split that in half, the cost of that in half, because the grant covers half. So $22,837.65 is from the grant, $20,000 is in the 2014 municipal budget, and $2,837.65 is being appropriated from the ordinance itself.
Yeah, the issue I'm bringing up is that $20,000, which you read. Can you read that again? It said $20,000?
$20,000 is being appropriated in 2014 municipal budget.
Why? Well, why is it coming out of our budget? Why didn't it come out of contingency?
Well, contingency is, I think, in my understanding, for, which we've used, is for construction issues. This was not, this was, what's the word I want to look for on it?
This was
That was
an
your-
addition to the project. We added this to the project.
Which actually goes back to Tom Pettis saying, like, you guys are aware of it, but I mean, like, but it sounds like, much like, I don't know, I guess that door hardware change order that's coming up, but I mean, it's something that obviously is part of the project, but wasn't addressed, and so is an extra, and really should be coming out of contingency.
Well, in my opinion, or my understanding of contingent is, $100,000 was added into the contract for contractual changes, like the ones that you've seen. The camera is different, it's an addition, it's not,
We applied for, when we applied for this grant, it also included, I think it was tables.
yeah, I applied for,
Stuff.
I applied for a lot of things, but I applied for $120,000.
And thank you very much for, for going out of your way.
We only got 25, which I knew I wouldn't get what I asked for.
Then just thank you, I will say thank you.
So,
But I guess bottom line is that there's $20,000 that was in the budget, which the taxpayers are covering. I guess that's what I'm reading. I was wondering about that. I'm still a little confused, but I guess that's.
contingent doesn't have, what does it have left, 35,000?
after tonight, I'll have
At the
30.
finance meetings, it was brought to our attention, and it was our understanding that it should not be included in contingency. So for what I think Tina's trying to get to, but Lou, maybe you can speak to the door hardware that we have on tonight's agenda, as it is.
Just because I brought it up.
No, but only because of the door hardware, there was an allowance figured into the project for door hardware. And the door hardware came in to be more. It was more of an estimated price by the architect, what it could cost. And when it finally came in, it was more than the amount that,
You're saying up front in the design, the architect didn't actually
He gave
specify
allowance.
what the hardware was, he only.
Yeah, he just put a number on it.
Include 20. And then the architect came out with what the specification should be.
Well, he came out with the specs, but he had an allowance figured in for it, but unfortunately, when he went to go purchase everything, the allowance didn't cover it, so that's why we have, the change order there, because we exceeded the allowance that he figured in.
Had he would have figured higher, we wouldn't have had
Sounds
to
like
say
the
order,
architect,
obviously.
the architect's meeting up here.
You're not gonna have every allowance, every estimate.
Yeah, tell me about it, that's,
Yeah,
my life,
You do, that's right.
I mean,
Shouldn't be a
at
surprise.
one point, you figure in this, and unfortunately, by the time you go to buy it, whether if it was, says it was 2 years later from the bid, then things just cost a little bit more.
And I wanted to respond to this. It is very confusing, Mr. Patterson, that we're using $20,000 from the operating budget, but after tonight's change order, there will be $35,000 left in the contingency. Now, the test, I think, really for my fellow members of the governing body is, are they gonna voluntarily net that $20,000 against the 35 contingency and say that we only have 15? Because then we're within the contingency, right? Or are they gonna say, no, it's not a cost overrun until it becomes a cost overrun? All right, because now we're already, that's what I said last meeting, we crossed the Rubicon. We're now dipping into the 2014 operating budget, all right? And again, a lot of this becomes municipal accounting shell game, comes from the left pocket, right pocket. All the taxpayers care about is the net cost. They don't care, contingency, operating, it's not this, we planned for it, whatever. It's more money, all right? Go home to your wife and tell her, hey, I charged it on the Visa, not the MasterCard, so it doesn't count, all right? So that's what I'm saying. We have $35,000 left on the credit card. Will my fellow council members commit with me to net out that 20 grand operating expense and say now we only have 15 months?
Yeah, I don't see that being a problem, but I mean, I don't know what's on the horizon, if there are other change orders, Lou may be aware of Flanagan kind of rattling the saber on something or other, but yes, we do have
Did you
35,000
understand now where it's a matching grant? And you were familiar with the county, I mean, it's a matching grant, so the match has to come from someplace or we don't get the grant to purchase the camera. And that was what was triggered in when the budget was.
It just seemed like, contingency.
But it's not really, because it wasn't part of the contingency to cover your construction.
It wasn't part of the original.
Right, it wasn't.
I could argue further, but I do understand.
All right, he understands it, there we go.
Okay.
Go away,
If
Frank, go away.
I may, Mayor, I realize that we're in the public comment and we're not always following perfect procedure when we're in this public comment. But anyway, that's a different issue. I just want to personally say that I agree with Councilman Matthew. The way I see it is the same. If 20,000 came out of our operating budget, in my mind, contingency would be less than 20,000. Even though it may not say that on the paper, I do agree with you. That is how I mentally think about it, because whether it's one pocket or another, it's still the residents and taxpayers' pocket. So I just want to say that I agree with you, and that's my mindset.
Thank you, I just want to thank you for that. Just vote that way.
All right,
Be
let's
sure to vote that way.
Hope I can.
Let's move forward. Any other comments or questions?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jim Candy. I own the property at 653 Myrtle. And I don't know if you guys are aware, I'm sure you probably are, probably the town engineer is, but this attorney Kervick, he plans to build some multi-family dwellings right behind our properties on Myrtle Avenue. And we've got some letters from him. We've got some letters from the Wetlands Division. And I know this is the town of Westfield, and it's easy to just blow it off, but my question to the council is, why didn't we get anything from Garwood? Why doesn't this council think that these affordable housing dwellings that they're calling it would be important to the town residents that this is going to border on? What kind of insurances do we have? As far as traffic, as far as, I already have a water problem in my yard. Where's the drainage gonna go? Where are they gonna direct that? How about noise levels? Where's the entrance gonna be? What kinds of roadways are they gonna build? Don't you think this would be important that we would hear from our own council in the town of Garwood? We gotta get outside letters from all these other organizations?
Okay.
Can I get some comments on this,
Yes,
please?
Mayor, if I can. This is, I don't know why you're just catching on to this now. This was already debated and decided a year ago. We had discussion here at the council meetings. I went to the meeting in Westfield where it was thoroughly discussed. I'm sure you know Tom Sparrow from Myrtle. He went to the meetings. We were not well received in Westfield, but we went through all the flooding issues. We went through the number of units. We spent a considerable amount of time, and we were aware of it. We did go, you know, I did represent the council and did go to the meetings. We did fight for what we could fight. Ultimately, the bottom line on it was that, similar to Cranford, but not as bad, Westfield was on the losing end of the affordable housing argument. And they had designated certain sites within their affordable housing element to provide their affordable housing needs. That site was one of them. And what it came down to was whether or not Garwood wanted to fight the affordable housing component from Westfield. And we all knew that basically there's no chance of winning that. And we were able to get whatever site improvements we could get out of them. The plan is available in Westfield. I may still have one. Tom may still have one.
We have one.
Yeah, but that is public, and if you want, I mean, I'm not sure if I have it, but I can certainly look and try to get you one. But unfortunately, to be very upfront with you, unfortunately, we were not well received, and I had comments at that time about the Westfield Zoning Board of Adjustment chairman and how he basically just listened to us and dismissed us. And we did fight for the borough. One thing I will say to you in terms of affordable housing, Westfield, Garwood, Cranford, all of Union County, we're in the same region. I forget the number. Okay, we're in the same region. It's Union County, Huntington County, Middlesex County perhaps. But the affordable housing, moderate income affordable housing is family of four, I believe, making between $60,000 and $80,000 a year. So that is Garwood. So we are aware of it. We are, you know, into it. The borough received notification from the property owner, and that's the only way we received notification also.
He should have received it too.
If you're within 200 feet, you should have gotten it about a year ago.
I only received letters from their people. I didn't receive.
Yeah, that's all you would get.
Received a notice of planning board meeting, or there was only.
He said he did.
Yeah.
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 That's more than we got.
But I mean, you know, we may not have been received well in Westfield,
Yeah.
but we should be received well in Garwood. I'm a Garwood resident. This is going to directly affect my property and my neighbors, who happens to be here also.
No, I agree. How were you not received well?
I wasn't there, you were.
No,
You
but I'm
said
saying-
you weren't received well in
No,
Westfield.
but
You
you-
made that statement, sir. I wasn't there.
What I'm responding to is you said that while we may not have been well received in Westfield, you should have been well received in Garwood. And so I'm asking you, how were you not well received in Garwood?
I don't know. I'm before you tonight. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that question yet. That's what I'm here to find
So-
out.
Bill went to that meeting to represent you.
Right.
We represented you in Westfield.
And I appreciate that, and thank you for that. But they're not being represented even by their own people, from what I understand. The Westfield indoor tennis courts has a lawsuit on these people. It was filed in the courts. I don't know what it's about. I have a feeling it has something to do with parking. So they're not even being well represented in Westfield. So if their own people don't want it, what about the people whose properties this is going to infringe upon? We have to have some recourse here as Garwood residents.
Maybe Mayor, I can speak to you after the meeting or give you a call.
Okay.
Don and I spent considerable time. Don reviewed their entire drainage plan, basically indicated there was no increase in water runoff after the project and before the project. We put considerable time into it. We did represent you, as Councilwoman said, and maybe we can get your number, we can talk and get the plan over. We were as upset with you that that property was being developed as, I don't know if I just said that right, we were as upset as you are now with that property being developed.
You know, there's another issue with wetlands. I believe they're trying to build 7 of those units in what's considered wetland.
You are correct.
So now they're going to have to apply for variances
No,
to do
well,
that, right?
They're isolated wetlands and they've already, I think they've already received approval to fill
Yeah.
those, but they have other issues with respect to the fill application. But I believe that they're very small isolated areas of wetlands that they're building on. Much of the area on the Garwood side of the property is not being built on. Our development is really all up on Grove, what's it, Grove Street, I guess.
Right,
What's-
Grove.
what's-
Grove.
But from what I understand, the drainage is going to run into
Oh,
the
yeah.
creek,
Oh, sure.
which runs right through Garwood.
Absolutely.
Okay, and as you know, not in Sandy, because Sandy was a lot of wind, but in Irene, that creek came up
Oh.
into people's yards. So now they're gonna run additional 16 multifamily dwellings into that creek. I mean, there are legitimate issues to be
And
raised.
we talked to you afterwards, right? We did address them. Don spent a considerable amount of time. We're not happy, but we are well aware of it, and we
Well,
did
I
address
appreciate
everything.
any information I can
No
get from
problem.
you on that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison.
No problem.
Okay. Anyone else? Otherwise, we'll close the public comment portion of the meeting. And may I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, Ms. Ariano.
I just wanted to remind everybody that next Tuesday is Students in Government, that's Tuesday, May 20th at 7 o'clock. Due to family obligations, I'm going to, if we can, however, everything will be prepared, pizza will be ordered, and everything will be set up.
Thank you.
I'll make that motion, Mary.
It's 7 minutes. Back promptly 9 o'clock.